Welcome to RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress live Wednesday night podcast. It has been a couple of weeks since we've been live. I've had some surgery and some things coming up, but we are back and we have a wonderful show for you tonight. We are talking to the Rhode Island Office of Rehabilitation Services in Rhode Island, and they do so much for servicing all of Rhode Islanders with special needs, and I am so excited so you can learn all about everything that they do. So welcome, ladies, to the show.
Thank you. Hello.
Thank you for having us.
Oh, I am so excited to hear everything that you guys have going on, and I look forward to hearing your topics. But I'd love to get started tonight with having you each introduce yourself and tell us what your role is at ORS. We'll start with you, Jennifer.
Okay, so hello, my name is Jennifer Fisk. I am a supervisor over at the Office of Rehab Services. I supervise the Central Rhode Island region. So my region covers Johnston, Cranston, Warwick, Situate, and Forster. And I currently have about 7 counselors who work in that region.
That is awesome. And Alicia, tell us what you do.
I am Alicia Peters, by the way. I am also a supervisor for the Office of Rehabilitation Services. The territory that my counselors cover is all of Northern Rhode Island. So north of Providence to include Central Falls, all the way up. And I have 9 counselors that work underneath me. And then we also work with all of the schools and all the school districts as well, in Jennifer's region as well.
You guys do so much. Just a little bit of housekeeping. Anybody who is watching us live tonight, if you have a question about anything that these ladies might ask, just throw it in the chat. I am watching that as well. So if a question pops up, I will be able to ask it right here live on air tonight. But let's get started with a couple of questions. Jennifer, tell everybody exactly what the Office of Rehabilitation Services does. What is the umbrella and overview of the office?
Okay, so the Rhode Island Office of Rehab Services is a state agency. We work for the state of Rhode Island, and ORS, for short, is underneath the Department of Human Services. And essentially the purpose of our office is to service adults and students in Rhode Island who have disabilities. And the main purpose is to help someone prepare for, obtain, and maintain employment. So we're all about helping people with disabilities find jobs, gain employment. That's our mission, that's our goal. It all aids in self-sufficiency. So that's essentially what we do.
That is great. Alicia, tell us a little bit about how the students in school adapt well to helping them find a job and the support services that you offer.
So almost 10 years back now, there was some funding that came down from the feds that promoted us really engaging with students at a much younger age. So we start working with students at age 14. We actually even have some middle school programming that we provide to students to start providing them with that career awareness curriculum, if you will, kind of opening up students' minds to what types of jobs are out there, what are their strengths, and where do they fit into the world of work, with the hopes that by the time they do exit the school system, they have a pretty solid plan in place with maybe a vocational goal attached to it as well. I mean, who knows what they really want to do at age 18 for the rest of their lives, but we hoped that there's a plan in place and we're kind of a driving force in getting them to that point of competitive employment.
Let me just add that Rhode Island is really one of the very few states in the country that has a rehab counselor in every single high school. I mean, other states have rehab counselors in schools, but we have one in every single high school across the state, charter schools included. And the students start getting services like vocational exploration, summer work programs. So there's a lot of different things that we can provide students while they're in school to kind of help prepare them for what's going to happen after high school.
How do you get the businesses to buy into the fact of having somebody of disabilities work for them? I mean, I know the answer to this, but I'm also a person of disability, but I want everybody else to know, how or why should a business, partner with you guys to help employ all of these people?
You want to take it?
I think one of the best selling points we can say to a business about hiring a person with a disability is that along with the employee comes the support of an agency like ORS. So if there's any kind of assistive technology that we can help provide the employee to make them more proficient at the job, we will go in and do that. If there's some sort of support in terms of a job coach that we can come in and provide to provide a little bit more support to the employee while they're learning the job, we could do that. So I think that we can, we try to say to employers what the benefits are for hiring someone with a disability. And one of the benefits is they come along with some added support.
And the best part is they probably have the best employees, because no one is a better employee than somebody who has something to prove. And I truly believe that is with our community.
Absolutely. Also, most of the clients that we are marketing to an employer for a job have already proven to ORS through assessments and other things that they can do the job, that they have the skills necessary. So that's a big selling point to the employee as well. We also have programs like on-the-job training where we can, talk to an employer about possibly setting up a agreement with them to pay maybe half the client's salary for a predetermined period of time while they're learning the job. So there's lots of incentives that come along with being a client of ORS and us being able to partner with a business to successfully hire one of our clients.
That is fantastic. Alicia, what are some of the job aspirations of the students from school that you have? Like, what are some of the jobs that they're looking to get into?
We have a lot of young adults who are extremely interested in working with animals. I would say that is probably the one vocational goal I see most often. I would say right behind that would be video game designer. We see quite a few young adults who are interested in pursuing a career in video game designing. And truthfully, we have a lot of students who really just don't know. So many kids are bogged down right now by the academic demands and meeting those graduation requirements, and there's nothing wrong with that. But that they really haven't had an opportunity to think about life after high school, kind of take some time to be selfish and really think about what it is that they're interested in. And so that's one of the discussions I often bring to the table for an IEP or a 504 meeting with students and families. I say, look, we're giving you an opportunity to really carve out some time to think about what is it that you really like to do. And then from there, we're going to actually get you out in the community and see if those are things that you really like. And oftentimes, as with most young adults, the goal changes quickly, multiple times along the way. But I think that's just a testament to how valuable our services are, rather than spinning your wheels after graduation and going through multiple training programs and finding your way that way. A lot of the students that we work with have a much better sense of who they are in terms of a worker. And I think find employment a lot quicker as a result of that, which is great.
And I think that's actually incredible, because seriously, how many students of all abilities or on any type of spectrum whatsoever do not have any idea what they want to do? Some go to college and still don't know what they want to do. So, you got to instill in the parents' mind that this is absolutely normal for a teenager to not have a clue or to want to try different things. Do a lot of your students, or do you let them try the technical trades, the career technical trades? Are they involved in that kind of stuff, Jennifer?
Yes, absolutely. We also have a lot of our voc rehab counselors who are liaisons to certain schools that have those types of training programs, really try to embed themselves. There's really kind of an initiative going on right now in Rhode Island where they're trying to make a better effort of involving students with disabilities in those different STEM programs that a lot of the schools have, so that the students have an opportunity to try those kinds of STEM programming while they're in school. And even if they have a disability, they should have every right to sit in on those classes and have an opportunity to try those vocational pathways, if you will. So our rehab counselors are really working hard to make connections with those teachers and those heads of those programs, so that we can continue to, not begin to, because I think the beginning has already happened, but continue to have our students more included in being able to examine those types of careers.
Yeah,
I think it's great. I mean, go ahead, Alicia. No, go
I
ahead.
was just going to say, yeah, the CTE programs around the state have really taken off. They've acquired a lot of funding. You're seeing the shift from students and families looking at four-year colleges to more of those technical trades, those vocational programs, if you will. And so there's been a lot of money brought into those CTE programs. And with that, a lot of conversations about making sure that students with disabilities have access to those programs as well. And outside of that too, we have a great working relationship with a lot of the trades programs themselves, and have the opportunities through our services to get students out to tour different welding programs. We have great connection with EB that's been new and evolving, which is amazing. So yes, certainly.
I think it's great. I think the CTE programs, career tech programs. I just did the home show this weekend. 1,400 CTE students from across the state, cross school lines, all working together to build everything that you saw at the road show, the home show this weekend. And what an absolutely great job. I happen to be lucky enough to live down here in Burrillville, and we have one of the most amazing CTE programs. They just won a whole bunch of awards recently. And I know that they just built a set, because we made a historical theater over here in Burrillville, fully ADA compliant, because there's a couple of wheelchair actors and actresses that are absolutely phenomenal, that we just made the whole theater fully ADA compliant, and the CTE students created the set. So everything was workaroundable and everything was going. So it's everybody working together. And I had the pleasure of talking to the Rhode Island Builders Association, their top people this weekend, about even getting more and more students of all abilities into their program. And they are so open to the idea. So all of that, I think, is a great idea. And it is all of us working together. We do all live in Rhode Island. Everybody knows a guy. So, you know what I mean? I might know somebody that you might know somebody, and, we can all make the connections together. Jennifer, tell us some of the employers that have signed on to, be champions to this program.
Oh boy. Listen, we have a lot of employers that hire our clients, right? So we have anybody hires, not anybody, but hopefully anybody hires someone with a disability. So we have employers all over the state, from CVS to Job Lot to professional lawyers' offices, police offices. I mean, we've had all kinds of jobs, wonderful things. We have a committee called BEST, which zeroes in on certain employers so that we can make connections with them. So we have some big employers that we've currently made some wonderful connections with, like Electric Boat, Cargill down in North Kingstown. We also have some champion employers like Blue Cross Blue Shield and Rhode Island Hospital. Those two businesses house a program called Project Search, which is a national program. Project Search is a program that is a collaboration between a local school district, a company or business, the Office of Rehab Services, and BUDA, BHDDH, the long-term provider for people with disabilities. So the purpose of the program is to take students in their very last year of high school and embed them in this business and provide them with little internship opportunities at different sites at the business, so that when they graduate high school and they exit the business and the program, they have learned a tremendous amount of skills to help them get a job out in the community or at that host business itself. So I like to think those two businesses are like the champions of ORS, but we have tons of businesses that hire our clients and a lot of businesses that are involved in our business engagement program.
I think that is absolutely wonderful. And, you know, we want to blend in. We want to be like everybody else. You know, we may need a little bit of support or a little bit of extra patience, depending on what the disability is, getting them. But I'm telling you, you're going to have amazing employees. Alicia, do you ever deal with any of the parents? Do any of the parents have hesitancy of their child, you know, going out into the workforce? And how do you overcome something like that?
There are a multitude of reasons why, in my experience anyway, as a counselor, that parents would be extremely apprehensive to have their child work with us. For some folks, there's just a concern for safety. You know, they've been in the security of the four walls of their schools with teachers' assistants and what have you for many, many years. So the thought of their child going out into the world of work is extremely overwhelming. And just the transition to adulthood itself is a very overwhelming topic for a family. And so we take baby steps. It is a very slow process. And we just assure the families that we are never, ever going to listen, the program is 100% voluntary, and we can go as slow or as quickly as the individual is comfortable with. And it takes relationship building, rapport building. You know, we partner with some amazing vendors in the community to get the students out into those workplaces and for those assessments and the summer work programs. And a lot of times those vendors go on to be the long-term supported employment providers for some of our consumers as well. We're talking about really long-lasting, solid relationships that are built that often start in school. One of the other hesitancies that I find with families is the concern over benefits. Families who their young adults have just been approved for Social Security as an adult, and they're deathly afraid of how work is going to, not deathly afraid, but really concerned about how work is going to potentially impact their benefits. And we have a multitude of services, you know, benefits counseling being at the forefront of that, and just constantly are educating families and the consumer along the way to ensure we never want an individual to be negatively impacted by work. And so it's an educational process that takes place over, you know, over years to ensure that everyone is comfortable and that the consumer is, again, not negatively impacted. But I'd say so, you know, just the fear of the young adult going out into the world of work, and that exercising a little bit of that independence, and then the benefits are probably the two biggest concerns that I see for families.
And again, that's a concern of any parent. I remember when my two children, I'm the person of disability, my two children are fine, you know, are normal, mainstream, as you would say. And I was still concerned at their first job, you know, what they were going to entail. I mean, it's a scary world. But you can see why some businesses might be hesitant if the parent themselves are hesitant. You can see why some businesses would be hesitant. But what a great feeling that must be when that individual thrives and, you know, succeeds in that for both the business and the parent. That must be one of the most rewarding ends of any of this. Or is there something else that I'm missing, Jennifer?
I would say no, there's nothing else you're missing. I think that we do this work for that reward. It's a wonderful thing, especially if you meet the client while they're a student and you follow them all through high school, and then they apply for adult services and you work with them as an adult, and you might put them through training or, you know, whatever it may be. But to see at the end someone gain confidence, gain independence, gain skill, and then get a job in the field that they started off wanting is really an amazing thing. I mean, a lot of the times, you know, people go through life and you say like, it's a thankless job. But it's not, because when you actually see someone become successful and you helped a little bit of it, it's an amazing thing. You know, I always say, in any case, it takes a village, you know, so we're a small pot, but just to be able to be a small pot and to see someone become successful is a wonderful thing. That's why I think a lot of us do what we do.
Yeah. Alicia, let's step away from the student aspect for a little bit. How old, is there an age limit of an adult who wanted to get into this program that, you know, says, I didn't know about something like this, I would like to find a job? How do I go about that, starting it as an adult? Is there an age limit, or how do they get into the program?
Sure, there is no age limit. We work with folks from the age of 14 till whenever. You know, eligibility, in order to be eligible for our program, so it is on the adult side, there is that eligibility component. So if someone caught wind of our program, and hopefully someone listening to this podcast does, that was not familiar before, and you know, they've experienced some barriers along the way, if you will, or some difficulty maintaining employment, and they think to themselves, you know what, maybe this is something that I could benefit from. Some folks come to us, you know, with documentation of their disability, whether it's some type of physical disability, or someone has been diagnosed for many years with depression or PTSD, and it impacts and significantly impacts their ability to maintain employment. They simply could go right to our website, download the application, submit it either electronically or mail it in to us. And then we walk through that eligibility process. Some folks, like I said, will already have that documentation, will provide it to us, we review it and go from there. Other folks might need some assessments. You know, we might meet with the individual the first time and, you know, do that interview and kind of gather that there might be a little bit more there than we even realize. And sometimes we send folks out for assessments ourselves to determine eligibility. So that's kind of the gist of that, you know, that initial, I don't want to say onboarding, but that initial process of getting involved with ORS.
And let me just add that people can apply on their own. So if you hear of it, like a podcast like this or an event, then someone can go right to our website, www.ors.ri.gov, and apply for services. But also people are referred to ORS from all different types of places. People can be referred from their doctor to their psychiatrist, to a mental health center, a supported employment day program,
physical therapist.
Yeah, a company like Right Away will refer, like anybody, vendors refer to us. So we get discharge planners at the ACI refer to us. So we get referrals on the adult side from all over the place. We try to do things like this to put our services out there so that more and more people will refer.
Yeah. We're going to flip from the client side to the business side. Again, I have a lot of small business owners that watch our podcast every week. We're part of, you know, a lot of small business coalitions around here in Rhode Island. Tell them some of the types of disabilities that you have found successful employment for, you know, just so they can kind of get, like, they're not in the disability realm, but I want them to feel comfortable of the different types of disabilities that are out there that have been fully successfully employed at different businesses. Could you give us like a screenshot of what that would look like, Jennifer?
Sure. Well, first of all, let me say we love small businesses. Woo woo to the small business community. If anybody's listening and watching, because we love small businesses. They're truly the best, because a lot of times our clients might need a little bit of what we call natural support on the job, and a small business, nobody better to provide that, because they really care about their employees. It's a small place, so they can provide those natural supports. Sorry, I lost track about what you originally asked me.
Oh, about the types of disabilities that were successfully employed.
Okay, so for instance, I have a lot of students, even adults, who are interested in working in the food service field. Sometimes food service can be difficult. Listen, I did 20 years in restaurants, bartending, waitressing, and all that. It's very fast paced. The managers generally don't have a lot of patience. You know, it's a lot of multitasking. So if we can place someone who's got a high interest in food service in like a smaller kind of mom and pop catering business, that would tend to help the person be a little bit more successful. I have a student right now who's interested in candle making. So it's a very specific small business. We would, you know, it's a very specific job goal. So we would certainly look towards a smaller business for something like that. I have people who would say to me that they are very creative in nature, very artsy, but have no idea how to translate that to a job. Sometimes a small business like a cake decorating or a bakery, you know, someone with a creative hand might do well at something like that. So we try to think on those terms. We have a lot of small businesses that are open to things like an on-the-job training. You know, if you want to provide training to an employer and you want to set up a way that ORS will pay half their salary, that's a difficult thing to do with a big business like a Walmart. But it's a little bit easier to do red tape wise with a small business. So we really look to partner with the small businesses. We also have some small businesses that we set up as vendors of ours to provide training for clients. So one business I know of that we've done that in the past is dog grooming. So we have a couple private small businesses, dog grooming, that will take out one of our clients for a longer kind of apprentice training. So we really try to be creative and work with our small businesses to help out.
Yeah, that's great. Alicia, more towards like, you know, people with autism or people with Down syndrome, people in wheelchairs. What are the types of disabilities that have been hired? Like, you know, some people look at me in my motorized wheelchair and think that I'm unhireable because, you know, my wheelchair gets in the way. As long as the place is accessible to me, I can make anything work. But talk about some of the actual disabilities that have been successfully hired so people know what to look for in the individual that they would be hiring.
I would say I don't think there's any one or two types of disabilities that we see that are more hireable than others. I would say that across the board, the commonality amongst all of the folks that we support that end up successfully employed is they have that drive to work. We're seeing a lot of folks, which I think is just kind of nationwide right now, a lot of folks who are primarily impacted by a mental health diagnosis. We're seeing a lot of folks with depression, anxiety. We support a lot of folks with learning disabilities and ADHD. These are what some people often call an invisible disability, if you will. And I would say a lot of times for those folks, it's a self-awareness piece and they kind of know how to accommodate themselves, or like Jen was saying, there's just a simple natural support that needs to be put in place. For example, if you have someone who is diagnosed with an anxiety disorder and they're very well aware that there's a certain personality or a certain event that might trigger an anxiety attack, or they know when it's coming on, they have that self-awareness. So working with the employer to just carve out a space for that individual to go to, or them to be able to go to that supervisor and just say, I just need a minute. I need to, you know, very small things that I think a lot of us kind of do already, but just that conversation going into it beforehand and that awareness. I think a lot of folks are off put and afraid to talk about working with someone with a disability. There's a lot of fear for employers about saying the wrong thing or not doing enough or what have you. And so we actually are trying to start back up these smaller kind of networking meetings, if you will, where we have some folks from the Office of Rehabilitation Services, some of our vendors, and then we'll partner with a couple of of employers or businesses and kind of just have this off the cuff conversation around how do you talk about disabilities? What do accommodations look like? Like demystifying that piece. I just went off on a whole tangent. I apologize.
Yeah, no. It was perfect. It was just what I was looking for. Jennifer, I'd like to take you to the employer. We have a lot of small businesses. Now, if they're interviewing somebody who may not be going through your office, just say somebody with autism or Down syndrome or any kind of disability, walks into there and wants the application. Give a little bit to the person interviewing them. What is okay to say, what is not okay to say, and when they should be asking if they need accommodations or not. Just kind of give them, I mean, I'm not saying go into depth with it, but give them kind of a roundabout of like how to handle that situation. So they don't handle it completely badly because, you know, they're in shock that this person of disability just walked into their establishment and they got an interview and they don't know what to do. Give them some pointers.
I suppose my biggest and best pointer would be to move on with the interview. And you are interviewing someone just like you are interviewing someone without a disability. So move forward. I certainly would say to any employer, do not directly ask the person if they're disabled and what their disability is. I think the best thing I could say to an employer is to give the person a chance and an opportunity in an equal playing field. You know, when Alicia was talking, previous question, all I kept thinking was, we try to practice what we preach at ORS, and we have a lot of staff and rehabilitation counselors themselves with significant disabilities. We have a couple rehabilitation counselors on staff who are completely blind. We have had, unfortunately, he moved to Florida. He was a wonderful rehab counselor who utilized a wheelchair, who was in a wheelchair. We have had deaf rehab counselors. So we practice what we preach, certainly. And it goes to show that with a disability, you can still do any job if there's some accommodations. So, I think that's what we try to get across most to employers is sometimes it's a little accommodation. So give the client a chance. And I think if you give the person an opportunity, the person will discuss if they feel comfortable what accommodations they may need if they're hired, but it's a matter of making the person feel comfortable in an interview and certainly not pointing out the disability. And then,
anything to add to that, Alicia?
I was just going to say in some conversations that I've had along the way, I think there's this thought that on the employer side, that if they're hiring someone with a disability, that there's this myth that means they don't meet the qualifications to do the job, or they don't have the skills to do the job. And so that's where the accommodation comes in. And that is just not it. When an individual with a disability is seeking a job, it's because they have the skill set to do so and they want to do it. And accommodation is not it's not a handout or a leg. And so I think that's the piece that sometimes is misunderstood about hiring folks with disabilities.
Yeah, can I also add that, these types of conversations with employers are difficult. It's difficult to have this kind of conversation. It's difficult for an employer to know just what you said, to know what to ask and what not to say. And we recognize that. We're having a kind of an employer forum coming up at ORS on May 3rd. And ORS is inviting different employers, particularly small businesses. So if you're a small business listening or an employer and want to come, certainly contact ORS. I'll give you my contact information. The employer forum is May 3rd. And from what I hear, I'm not on the committee putting this together, but from what I hear, it's going to be an opportunity for employers to come together to ask these types of questions, to have an open opportunity without any judgment, to talk about hiring with disabilities, what to ask at interviews, how to ask at interviews. So we're really trying to get the information out there. And this is going to be our first kind of, we've done other ones, but this is like our first little mini employer forum focusing on this topic. And again, that's going to be on May 3rd.
And just to make you all feel comfortable, I am on that panel. I am speaking at that event.
I know, it's at the Warwick Public Library.
Yeah, so just to make everybody on here, if you're part of that or you want to be part of that, I will be speaking at that. But it's really funny because I have a couple of friends who happen to be in wheelchairs and they interviewed for some jobs over Zoom during COVID. And they never mentioned that they were in a wheelchair because, like, right now, I'm not sitting in my wheelchair, I'm sitting in a recliner. So when they interviewed and they worked, and then when they went to in person, they kind of, the light bulb went off, like, why did this person ask if we were wheelchair accessible? They never put two and two together until they rolled into the building when they went in. So here they are now, they fell in love with this person, they are working with this person, and they never realized they were actually in a wheelchair until they rolled into the building. So that's the same thing with any disability. Like I said, it's the same accommodation you would make for a mother with children, or for a single father, or you know what I mean, for anybody that just needs that. I might have to leave early as once or twice, but I'll, you know what I mean. It's those simple accommodations, but I'll tell you, when they're there 210%. You have that complete dedication, you have that thorough focus, because that's all they want to do, is they want to provide, they want to succeed, and they want to feel good about what they do. Give us the email and contact information, Jennifer, if somebody wanted to contact ORS to either be a business to partner with you, or a individual who wants to get a job, who may be outside of a student.
So I can direct you right to our website, which is www.ors.ri.gov. We've worked on our website many times over the past few years to make it more user-friendly. There's a list of every single supervisor with all of their contact information and what regions they cover. There's also a separate tab describing the work we do with employers, and the supervisor who runs the BEST committee, which is Mike Montanaro, and his contact information is also on there. If anybody would like to ever contact Mike Montanaro, if you're a business and you want to get involved with ORS, it's Michael, MICHAEL Montanaro, MONTONARO @ors.ri.gov. But certainly I would refer anybody directly to our website. It's got a lot of information with a lot of contact information for people.
And Alicia, tell a business why they should contact ORS, to even if it's just to get information. There is no obligation, is there? Or am I speaking out of turn?
No, there absolutely is zero obligation. The two things I like to share with employers is that we have a pool of pre-screened candidates for jobs. And I know right now the job market, my husband is a small business owner, and trying to find folks right now is very difficult across the board for a multitude of reasons. But so we have folks who are ready to work, want to work, and pre-screened, and we know that they are folks who are going to show up, like you said. They have that drive. And then we also do education around working with folks, demystifying employing folks with disabilities. There's a whole host of educational things that we can provide to companies. And any question, there's no silly question. There's no wrong question. That is what we are here for. That BEST committee, the business engagement specialist team, I believe is what it is, was one of our silver linings of COVID. COVID gave us an opportunity to take a step back as an agency. And we really saw that one of the missing pieces of the community work that we were doing was our relationships with the business community. It wasn't really there. And so the business engagement committee, took off. We didn't realize just how open and willing the business community was to working with us as well. It's gotten to a point where it's grown so much that we actually almost don't, the counselors are trying to maintain caseloads and work with the employers at the same time. It's amazing, beautiful, and I think it drives us to want to work even harder when it's that mutual, there's a mutual benefit to be gained there, which is great. Yeah.
It's so true. And I know, Alicia, Jennifer, I'm going to give you this question. I know one of the top questions an employer is going to ask is, do you have reliable transportation back and forth? What do you say for something like that?
Absolutely. So ORS can do a lot to help a client with transportation in order to be successful at work. We have travel training programs where we have vendors who will go out and teach a client how to utilize the bus, how to utilize ride. We also have a couple of vendors on staff who we can pay to help clients learn how to drive. If a client is employed and they're buying a new vehicle and they need it modified for a wheelchair, those are certainly all things that ORS can help with in terms of transportation. I will do whatever as a supervisor to help someone become employed. If someone gets a job and they have absolute no transportation and they haven't learned how to use the bus yet, I'll taxi cab them there until they learn how to use the bus. There's a lot of things we can do to help someone with transportation, but I guess the main thing is travel training and driving lessons if someone needs it, and modifications. Of course, if someone has a job and has a van, certainly ORS will help we've helped modify lots of vans for the purposes of work.
And that's why I love you guys so much, because you do go above and beyond to making sure that everything is successful and every area is covered. And you guys are truly amazing at everything that you do. Alicia, I want you to give, I'm gonna put you on the spot, and I'm gonna give you the same question, Jennifer, when she's done. Give us your best overall aspect of ORS. Like, give your plea. We're nearing the end of the hour now. Give your plea to why people need to partner up with ORS.
Oh, geez. So, when I first started out of grad school, I wasn't looking to work for folk rehab. Didn't even know it existed, to be completely honest with you. I was on a track to be a clinician. No one was going to change my mind. That was it. And it was my first internship through my grad program that I was introduced to the voc rehab program at ORS. I came in as a student, completely green, and I started seeing like, oh wow, like yes, work is clearly really important to folks. Yeah, okay. Oh wow, look at this. They work with kids, they work with adults. And then I just saw all of the tools that we had, the resources that the voc rehab counselor has. Anything that an individual needs to become successfully employed in that goal that the counselor and the consumer have decided on, they've identified in that consumer's employment plan, anything they need, just about, I should be careful with what I say here, but just about anything they need in order to maintain or obtain employment, we can look to make it happen. Where else can you work that you can just pull out a wand like that and help someone, obtain their success or, so that was it for me. When I saw, and then that first time someone called and said, I got the job, thank you. Forget it. I was done. I was sold, clinician, shaman. Like, no, this was where I was going to stay. And so, yeah, I would say it's the wealth of tools that we have to provide folks to ensure that they're able to, and I think maintain employment a lot of times is the bigger piece, is truly amazing. And that's what sold me. I think that's what makes ORS we call it the hidden gem in the state. There's a lot of folks don't know about the program. And I think a lot of folks don't think that they would necessarily be eligible for services either. And I would say to anybody who's ever faced a barrier, you know, with the employment piece, it's kind of worth going down that rabbit hole and reaching out to us to see if they might be able to benefit from our services. If not, so be it. But certainly no harm in reaching out and inquiring, for sure.
Oh, thank you for that. Jennifer, what's your plea?
All right, so I'm gonna answer this from a client perspective, right? I like to talk always when I do any kind of talk in terms of examples, because that's how I learn best myself. I have lots of examples of people becoming successfully employed, right? They go through a training program, you hire a job developer, you get them a job. But I like to highlight certain clients that I met in high school when I was the counselor a long time ago in the Providence school system, probably 15 years ago. I was the voc rehab counselor for all the high schools in Providence. And I met a particular student, a young lady who was very motivated to work, had some ADHD, learning disabilities. So we met her in high school. We opened up her file. We began working with her. We did some vocational assessments and some career exploration. She always told me from the start she was interested in helping people. So we knew that that was a goal for her. She did a couple career assessments and then a summer work experience at a assisted living facility. She fell in love with that kind of work. And after high school, ORS assisted her with completing a certified nursing assistant training program, which she did. She successfully completed it. We provided her a lot of help because she needed some assistive technology. She needed some tutoring. But with all of that, she completed the training program and passed the CNA state boards and obtained her CNA certificate. At that point, we helped her get a job at a nursing home. She was able to maintain work for over 3 months, in which ORS then closed her case out as successfully employed. But the best part is that's not where it ends, because after working as a CNA for a couple of years, she contacted ORS and explained that she was interested in becoming a nurse. We reopened her case. We helped her through college. We provided her lots of supports, including paying for a portion of her tuition. She graduated. I mean, we've thrown things in along the way, like paying for clothing and scrubs and stethoscope and all things like that. But the end result is she completed her degree in nursing and she got a job as a nurse, and we closed her out again as successfully employed. So, in my eyes, that's a perfect case, because it's not just getting someone a job, it's helping someone with a career and a career ladder, and letting them know that ORS is an agency that's here not only once, but always. If you contact us, we can certainly keep going. So that's my biggest success story. And I've had lots of those over the 20-something years I've worked at ORS.
That's it. Yeah, don't age yourself. Women never do that. Do not age yourself. Right? But and it's so true. Everybody can be successful with a little bit of patience and kindness. You might find the best employees over here, but we invite you and all of your candidates and clients that are successful to come on down to our event in September and just walk around and talk to the businesses that are going to be there. Show up, let them know that they're out there, let them know that they can be successfully hired, and let's get some of them hired at the event in September. That's what the whole event is about. You know what I mean? Showing people how it can be successful in real world, real means. But I want to thank you ladies so much for joining me tonight. What a great show. And I'll tell you, the Rhode Island State Office of Rehabilitation is an amazing center. Like she said, it's not here just once, it's over and over again. Give us that website again.
We are at www.ors.ri.gov.
And if you don't remember that, you can just mention me, because they are not just my colleagues, they are also my friends. So if you don't remember all of that, message me and I will put you in touch with these two wonderful women who will definitely help you in every aspect. whether you're a client, a student, or a business looking to maybe possibly getting into this realm. With the hiring shortage right now out there, here is a pool of people who are pre-qualified, pre-screened, and ready to go. You can just call them up and they're ready to go. So get on it. Don't wait. Call them up. Get some people employed at your business. It will be the best decision you have ever made. So thank you, ladies, so much for taking the time tonight and sharing everything that ORS does in the state. And I look forward to collaborating with you guys going forward.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you so much for having us.
Oh,
Thanks,
anytime.
Lana.
And I would love to invite everybody back next Wednesday night, because we have a special for everybody next Wednesday night. RAMP, Real Access Motivates Progress, has hit their 3-year anniversary. We have been around for 3 years. We have gone national. We have helped 200 businesses go ADA compliant. We have helped many more start the process. We have helped people get employed. We have helped raise awareness. We have done so much in the 3 years we've been here, and it's just the beginning. So join us next week, and we're going to do something rare. We're going to actually talk about RAMP and all of the services RAMP offers throughout the state and the country. So my board members will be here with me next week. So 7 o'clock next Wednesday night, we will see you all there. And as I always say, don't just sit there, make a difference. Have a great night. See you all next week.